All right. Here we are. Silence clapping. Here we are. We are back. Welcome. Welcome. It is Monday, May 19th. We are ending I guess the school year is coming to a close for many in Florida in 2025. So we've got some special things prepared for you today. But before we jump right into that, let's do our normal intro. Welcome to the HEF podcast. That's the podcast of the Home Education Foundation. The Home Education Foundation is an organization that was started by Brenda Dickinson, who has been the lobbyist protecting home education rights in Florida for the past 40 years. Amazing woman, has done amazing work, and we're keeping that work going. And oftentimes we're going to interview her, ask her questions, dive into legislative updates, talk about the work that we do and the things that are going on in the state of Florida in education. And if that's what you're interested in, you're in the right place. If not, I'm sure you'll just keep scrolling. But be that as it is, welcome to the HEF podcast. We'd like to begin by giving a special thank you to our top sponsors. We have Arete, FPEA, Fisher Precious Metals, and TBHC Group. These are organizations that donate at a larger tier to really kind of help us move the needle on being able to support the work that we do. And it is a great work. It's an important work. And so it's not really possible without the support of those behind us. So we're very grateful. We want to give them a shout out every chance that we can. In fact, we'll clap today. Yeah. Enough. All right. And let's move in. Today we've got something special prepared.
Wait. This is just a housekeeping thing, but we've only got half your face. So you need to move your camera so we can see your face.
Me?
I can't see but half. Can you? Can y'all see?
That's a little
see
better.
Now you're in the center, though.
Okay.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
That's a lot
On
better.
my screen, and for everybody else watching, they got my whole face, Brenda.
Okay. Well, we want your whole face in there.
I appreciate that. Always looking out for me. I love you. So let me jump to the we've got some special guests with us today, and I'll introduce them in just a moment. But before we do that, let's get to the kind of housekeeping things that I know that a lot of you are here for, which is what's going on with our bill and what's the current state of things. We'll get that out of the way, and then we're going to jump right into some really good conversation this morning. So Senate Bill 248, which is a bill sponsored by Corey Simon, which had much difficulty getting its way worked through the legislature this session, has been enrolled and has been sent to the governor. And it was sent to the governor on May 16th. And so he has, because they voted to extend regular session, he actually only has 7 days to decide what to do with that bill. So on May 23rd, by that date, we'll have an answer as to whether it's vetoed or signed into law. And we're hopeful he'll sign it into law. If you don't know where to watch for that, we had pointed out a button on his website that you can check, but it doesn't seem to be updating that as often as he updates on X. So if you really want to find out what bills he signed, he posts those on X, and you can follow him there. Governor Ron DeSantis, just follow him on X, and I think you'll find that our bill will probably be signed when it gets down to it. So I'm looking at our live stream on... Okay, no, we're live. We're good. Okay. My screen on my phone had frozen. I try to keep a weather eye on it either way, but we're good. Okay, so that's that. And then Discord. So we announced last week, and we've been announcing this each week, that we are launching our Discord server. Well, it is launched. So if you are looking for our Discord server, you can go over to our website at flhef.org. You can go to the forum. If you can't find the forum, it's in our information section. So if you go under information and you click on forum, you'll be able to get to our forum. And at the very, very top, it says Discord announcement. If you click into there, you'll see the Discord announcement with an invitation link so that you can join it, and an explanation of benefits and features and all kinds of cool stuff. There's a lot of information there. The links and everything. And if you happen to be someone who has an online community, like a Facebook group or something like that, and you'd like to offer a little bit more privacy options or moderation settings and stuff like that, Discord's a great place for that. And if you would like to offer your community a chance to kind of move in here and kind of have your own place set up in there, we have the capacity to house that here. If you don't want to move the whole community, you just want to move some of the most active members and have that conversation pulled over, you can do that as well. It's just another place that gives you an outlet. It's got a lot of really cool features, document sharing, town hall discussions, voice chat, as well as message boards and posting and discussions. You could actually have a forum section in your section where you can bifurcate out the different conversation threads that you have instead of having to, like on a Facebook group where it's all kind of like a linear wall you can post on. So there's a lot of really cool features to it. And we extend an invitation to you to, migrate some of your community over here if you'd like to, and just send me an email directly at jason@flhef.org and let me know if that's something you're interested in doing, and we can literally set up your own area for you in the server. The goal and the idea here is to help create a space online for all the different homeschool groups. Brenda and I were just a part of a big homeschool group in Tallahassee and their graduation. And so we know that, the old school days of having a phone tree and being able to get messages out, people don't really use phone trees anymore. We gravitate towards social media and stuff like that. So this is the modern version, essentially, of a phone tree. With a little bit more of a sense of community. So if you were looking for a way to kind of rally troops in your area or cooperate and coordinate for events or things like that you want to do, and you have a specific home education focus, welcome, join it, and mill about, meet new people. And I'm very hopeful that we'll get some of our young people in there and see what they're capable of and what their ideas are, and tap into some of those brilliant young minds as we kind of figure out the new landscape in Florida. Yeah. All right, that is all of the housekeeping stuff out of the way, as far as I know. So now let's get down to the fun parts. Welcome, Nick. Nick, you told me to call you Nick, right?
Yes, please. Yes,
Nick,
sir.
is it Proden or Proden?
Proden.
Proden, very cool.
Yeah.
And we have Angelica Doster, correct? Yeah, so Brenda and I were at the Tallahassee graduation, Tallahassee homeschool graduation, and we had a special moment for Brenda and a recognition, and it was fantastic. I'll post a link to that in the chat later, where you can go and watch the graduation if you like. And it was epic. And so this young man comes up to me. I wasn't the guest speaker. I was just one of the side speakers, so to speak. But the guest speaker had given some really good advice to our young minds. And part of that was, to make friends, to follow God, and man, I forget the third one, which was actually the first one.
Get a job.
Work hard.
Yeah.
Work
Yes.
hard. Yeah. And things that seem like a given, but they're not necessarily. So Nick approaches me afterwards, and he's like, "So I'm already gonna take his advice." Caleb and I were standing there together, and he was like, "I want to meet new people. Let's be friends." And I'm like, "Okay, all right. That's very bold, but I appreciate it." And then here we are, gonna discuss some really interesting stuff today, because Nick, as I came to find out, was not homeschooled, but he was at a homeschool graduation, and I think that is what a unique story. He was there for Angelica, which is very cool. So I'm glad to have both of you on today. And Angelica, congratulations on graduating.
Yes, thank you.
And welcome.
Thank you so much for having us.
And she was homeschooled all the way through, so we've got two diverse ways of education.
We have Brenda Dickinson, 40 years of home education. We have a class of 2025 public school graduate and a homeschool graduate, and here we are. This is fantastic. Let's dive in.
Okay.
Tell me, Nick, how did you come to be at the graduation?
So I actually met Angelica through my girlfriend. They met through Crov. which is like a martial arts thing.
Yeah.
And she invited me to the graduation along with her, and I was like, let's go. Why not?
Let's go.
Um, you know, let's show our support.
Yeah.
Um,
What did you think of all of those antisocial homeschoolers there? What was that like?
very antisocial. No, I'm joking. It was
Oh
actually
my word.
um it broke all the stereotypes that surround the negative stereotypes that surround homeschoolers. It was very social, they were all easy to talk to. There was no issues like that you would traditionally think. It was a phenomenal time and a great perspective on what a different graduation looks like since I graduated from a very large public school.
What was so different about it from your public school perspective? What just tell me like one key thing maybe.
Um, well, I would say the two most
Okay.
important things. Number one is it was very family oriented.
Mm.
The way they you guys included parents in the handing of the uh, I can't even think.
Diplomas, yeah.
Diploma,
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
yes, sir. Sorry.
That's
Handing of the diplomas was very different than us who essentially got in a line and walked maybe 3 feet behind the person in front of us across the stage, accepted the
mm,
diploma from a teacher, some of which I have never seen before at my school,
wow.
and then moved on. And the
Mm,
other thing was the inclusion of God in the ceremony, in the using it as a chance to praise God. Going
mm,
to a public school, obviously, we did not have any inclusion of God in the ceremony that we had.
mm.
And being Christian, it was very nice to see and very um it made me happy to see so many people praising God just
Yeah.
all together.
Yeah, it was nice. And I think, and Angelica, I can't speak for you. But I'll speak for
Okay.
myself as a was half public schooled, half homeschooled from Alabama kind of guy. I can echo that, and I think it's easy to kind of take. I can see how my kids have grown up around that, and they might take that for granted because that is all over the place for us. It's everywhere for us. It's who we are. It's how we live every day. And so, hearing your perspective on that, how that was kind of a stark contrast for you, that God was placed front and center in that moment. Um, yeah, that's it's interesting. I think that's something that we can take for granted at times, and so I appreciate your perspective on that. Um, Angelica, what did you think of your own graduation?
All right. Well, I thought it was great. That's something a lot of homeschoolers can experience, and that is a graduation. Because there's a lot of states, a lot of counties where people don't take the effort to celebrate
It's a lot of
with
work.
homeschoolers. It is a lot of work, and
Mm.
homeschoolers generally we are looked down, and I just have to be very blunt about it. I've been
Sure.
homeschooled my whole life, and it's not as bad as it used to be, but you tell people you're homeschooled and they're kind of like, oh, okay.
I'm so
They just naturally
sorry.
think that you're stupid or so. Yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, even at your own church, like I still have that a lot
Mm.
happening, even after
Mm.
graduating high school. So, I mean, just the whole graduation,
Mm.
like Nick said, that it was God oriented and everything. I mean, that's the most important part. So I was very grateful for the time
Well,
and the effort for it.
absolutely. And it does take a lot of work. Hats off to all of the parents and moms who helped bring that moment into existence because you're right, it's a lot of work.
It
You
is.
you reminded me of something though when I was about your age, maybe a little younger, and my mom kind of started homeschooling me around the like seventh, eighth grade time period.
Mhm.
Um, Man, the people at church looked at us like we had five
Oh
heads. They
yeah.
were like, "What are you
Yep.
doing? How are you doing this to your kids? Like, are you sure?" Well, and I remember there was a young guy who was at our church who was kind of being taken under his wing by the preacher to kind of learn the ropes and stuff like that. And I mean,
Yeah.
he just didn't get it either. And you know what's really funny? Today, that guy has 6
Right.
kids. He lives
Oh my
in
gosh,
Tampa.
yeah.
And he's like, there is no other way but homeschool. Like, that's it. Like, he's totally
I love it.
flipped. Yeah. It's wild.
Oh yeah.
It's wild. It's
I
truly
want to
inspirational.
chime in something that I think is very unique about the homeschool graduation is every student chose their own color cap and gown.
Yeah.
So you
Yes.
didn't see any uniformity there.
Yeah.
And that's so great. We've got
Yeah.
people coming from the Abeka route. We've got classical conversations. We have
Yeah.
just, free homeschool, however you want to do it. I mean, it's like individuality is so important in home
Yeah.
education. And unlike what Nick was describing, everybody goes through the uniform line. And even though they have the opportunities to do some things, they don't have the same opportunities as kids that are homeschooled. Because if you want to practice violin 6 hours a day, practice violin 6 hours a day,
Yeah.
So they had so many unique gifts and talents that these kids brought to the graduation. It was really exciting to see. Some of them already had their AA degree. Some were just starting TCC. So there's no one pathway
Yeah.
to get to your goal. And I just love that because it customizes the education for that particular child.
Yeah, I think I heard one of them, and I can't remember who it was, and probably wouldn't want me to say if it either anyway. But when they were announcing what their plans were, he was like, "And for his college, he's undecided." I'm like, "That's totally fine. Like that is also like totally fine." I love that, seeing that diversity, and I think that I was having a conversation with the guest speaker and his wife afterwards, Caleb, and we were just talking about some of the weird things that kids say, because you guys marched out and left to the Star Wars music, and I was like,
Oh yeah.
yes, yes, and I was like, you know what? What's so funny is that is so homeschool culture. It really truly is. Like, to just take something and go, yeah, but we don't want to use that. We're gonna do it our way, And I would have marched to that. But in the 90s, and there you guys are. There are just some things, Princess Bride quotes. Somebody quoted Princess Bride in one of their speeches, and I was like, yes, there are just some things that are just classic homeschooler. And I was like, what's really interesting is all those quirky little moments. Like one of my kids at one point said, "Dad, kids can eat pickles and chicken nuggets and boogers." And I was like, all right, okay.
Yeah.
But what hit me is I wouldn't have that moment if my kid was in school. And it's not always just about the curriculum choices and control over curriculum. It's my kid's personality started to emerge. And I have a chance to go, "You're kind of cool, kid." And like, keep emerging, or if I'm not there, the kid's got to get in line. He's got to raise his hand if he wants to speak, or sit quietly while we get through the curriculum, and we've got an agenda, and we've got to get through the day, and the bell's going to ring, and then we got to go here. And it's like, who kids are, I don't necessarily feel always gets to emerge so well. And I think being there to capture those moments and take that quirky little thing and turn it into a memory and a bond. I'm definitely going to bring that up when they get married. It's like little things like that. It's just who they are as a person get to really emerge, and seeing all the different colors and gowns. Like there's something truly epic and deep about moments like that, where the individuals emerge and then they get put up. They've been looking at life through this window, and now the door opens, and it's like, okay, now go launch and step out into that. I really appreciated being there, and I'm thankful that you guys invited Brenda and I to be a part of that. So I look forward to it every year.
One of the things that my husband said about home education is he said it's not as much about education, because they will get an education. It's more about family restoration. Along your point,
Yes.
You're there with the kids and you're building family. And I think that
Yes.
is one of the biggest draws. Not that other people, I'm sure Nick's got a great family, but the parents miss a lot of the moments like you were talking about because somebody else gets to enjoy them. And we started homeschooling because I was selfish. I wanted to see those things and not turn my kids over to somebody else to enjoy my kids.
Yeah. I noticed that when I said that in my speech, you darted it. I was watching the playback, and you gave me the eye when I was like, "Yeah, Brenda thought it sucked to like give your kids over to somebody else," and you just cut right over.
Oh dear.
So Nick, you approached me afterwards, and you had some questions. So I'm gonna turn
I
the
did have some
mic.
questions.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn the mic over to you for a little bit and say, "Hey, you and Angelica kind of take it and do your thing." And interview the goat, Brenda
Oh yeah.
Dickinson. Yeah.
Well, I did want to say I did notice everyone having different colors, and I brought that up and I asked whether or not they were assigned colors or not. And I think it was so cool to see that rather than from my graduation, it was just a sea of black gowns. There was no, and we weren't allowed to customize our hats either. I don't know if you've seen some people put like stickers and stuff on their hats. We weren't allowed to do that.
Yeah. Wow.
So there was no customization at all. And it is very difficult to give your kids over to someone you're saying bye to them for a long portion of the day. And I know my mom struggled with that to the point where she ended up just getting a job at the school just to be around us. She worked as the lunch lady because she didn't have a job. She was a stay-at-home mom and she wanted to be around us. So that
Yeah.
was her way of doing so.
Well, good. Good.
I won't lie, most of the questions are from the perspective of someone who wants to get involved in lobbying.
Okay.
To both of you who are very successful in lobbying. Also, I was unaware until after when I went home and did research on Brenda. I was assuming she was, this person that was only involved in this. I had no idea until I did my own personal research the actual impact you've had.
Thank you for saying that.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it is. It truly is. She's inspired me, and she's why I'm here. So, go ahead, ask
Okay.
your questions.
So I do have them written down, so I didn't get mixed up. So
Perfect.
first off, what is any advice you'd give someone who wants to get involved with lobbying, specifically in Florida, as the laws are different?
I would suggest, like just about any career, that you find somebody you can shadow and volunteer to work with them so that you get a real feel for what it's like. It really is a job. It's not a hobby. And it's a lot of work. And some people are not going to be cut out. If you're a shy person, you don't want to meet new people or people that have differing ideas, then it's probably not cut out for you. But if you're really serious about becoming a lobbyist and you shadowed and you know that's the direction you want to go, I would suggest that you start off trying to find a legislator who needs it would probably be a better fit finding somebody as a new legislator who needs an aide. Because what I've seen over the years is that's the stepping stone for people to move into a lobbying firm and come up on board when they see the work. And going back to hard work, and Angelica, is those standout staffers are the ones the lobbying firms are looking for. Now, in our unique situation, we haven't reached the level of becoming a firm yet because we're not supported by the banking industry. We're not supported by all of those other organizations that collect money to hire lobbyists. And so ours is a lot of volunteer work. And Jason's doing a fantastic job of bringing in resources. But because we didn't have the resources, I didn't have the capacity to bring in more money. I did my best before technology, but it's a whole different plane now. But that's generally the path that people get into. Some go to law school, some work in the legislature as aides while they're in law school,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not necessary to become an attorney.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if I could add to that, I think it's an opinion, right? So I'm about to offer you something that probably stinks to a lot of people, like armpits. It's an opinion. Um, I've seen lobbyists for hire, right? Like, oh, I'm a lobbyist and I'll do lobbying, and they're looking for contracts to lobby for. I personally feel that that's the wrong way to go about it, because I think that that's one of the things that's an issue that we face with lobbyists, and lobbyists have a bad rap. Like, we get a bad rap
I
because,
do.
like, they're paid. It's almost like a mercenary for hire, and it's like money to the highest bidder. And the way out of that is to have a mission. If there is
Passion.
something, yep, if there's something that you believe in deeply and you want to fight for, lobbying is the way to make sure it's protected. And if there's not, then it's like picking a fight for no reason, right? Right? Because it's work. It's work. You're going to have arguments. You're going to have debates. You're going to go toe to toe with somebody mentally, and still need to be able to walk away from that with friends. I've actually had conversations this year where people were yelling at me, and then we turn right around and we're on conference calls together after that, in other places. And it's, it can be weird, but you can't make it be weird. You have to have a thick skin, and you have to be able to endure people being mad at you for holding your ground on something that you're passionate about and believe in. And the only way to do that, in my opinion, is if you're not a mercenary for hire. You truly care about what it is you're lobbying for. And that ultimately comes and stems out of figuring out who you are as a person and what you believe in. The things that matter to you in life and the things that don't. And being able to kind of like see the difference between those, that will plot a course for you in life. That's how I ended up working with Brenda, truthfully.
Very interesting you mentioned the whole mercenary for hire thing, because I just had a situation similar to that. I was having a conversation with someone and they asked what I wanted to do, and I explained that I wanted to be involved with lobbying, and they said, don't take this the wrong way. So basically, you want to be doing legal bribery. It's like, not quite.
Yeah.
Not quite.
Sure.
One of the examples I like to give is someone I really look up to is Brenda Dickinson, who's a lobbyist.
Okay.
He's in South Carolina. A perfect example of doing things for what you believe in is I'm not sure if any of you have been to Charleston, South Carolina. There's a large Navy ship docked that's a part of a museum.
Mm-hmm.
That ship was set to be scrapped.
Mm-hmm.
And because of his efforts, he was able to turn it into a museum, a place where people can go and learn about the ship and learn about the history. And it was a very decorated ship, so it was very important. And through lobbying, they were able to keep it.
Right.
So there's citizen lobbyists, and then those that are for hire.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ladies that worked really hard on the pro-life bill was somebody that had a passion. She's, to my knowledge, not paid, but that was something that she met with her legislator about, and worked with the legislator to be able to get a bill passed. So that's kind of what you're talking about with your friend in South Carolina. There are all kinds of different forms of lobbying, and mercenaries are looking for money. There's a very nice lobbyist, and I got really upset on an issue we were working on VPK, and he's a Christian. He came from a Christian home, and at the end of a fight that basically I thought he should have been on our side, but he wasn't. He said, it's just a game. We're just playing a game here. And I thought, you're probably in the wrong place. But he was hired, and he did what his client wanted to have done. I couldn't do that. I couldn't fight for something I didn't believe in.
Yeah.
For him, it was a game, but I mean, the choice that he makes and the effects he has affects people's lives. These are, but for him, it was just money, and it was a game from his perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is, as we were talking before, it kind of is a game. But in terms of there are no strict rules, Everybody has an opinion. You've got to take all of that and balance it to get to your end goal. Like Jason would say, playing a video game, you know, who you knock out, who you don't, whatever. But in the process, you know, you've got to know where you're going and what you believe in. It's that I believe are the most effective lobbyists.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a place where there are rules that are spelled out, and then there are rules that you figure out as you play and you participate, and in that way, it's similar, you know, in function and form to a game. But at the end of the day, I think,
For life impact.
yeah, at the end of the day, I think that the issue I would take with that person's statement that Brenda was saying is that they've emotionally separated out the passion and the connective tissue that what they're doing will have an impact on others when those words become law. And so that, keeping that in mind, the impact and the legacy in mind as you walk through each step is critical. So I think if I had advice on that, I would say that answering your question, you really kind of have to figure out who you are, what you stand for. And involved in that might just be taking some crappy jobs, you know. I literally discovered Brenda because I was building a marketing firm, and someone who I knew from our community knew Brenda and pulled us together and said, "Hey, talk to him." And she talked to me. It was Dina. Hi, Dina. I know you're listening. I see you in the chat. And she said, "You really need to help Brenda." And I said, okay, you know, and I was strapped for time, you know, trying to make ends meet and take care of a family, et cetera. And I had no idea that later that year, within a year, I would be in Tallahassee. That I was in Tampa building a marketing firm, and my life completely shifted and changed because it is my heart passion where I'm at, and it hits certain key elements. And to know that Brenda wants to retire and there would be no one standing there, that didn't sit right with me. And so when I looked at it, it was just one of those things where somebody has to be there, whether or not they have the money. So, you know, when it comes down to it, if the economy takes a dip and we lose our funding and support, that is what it is. It's still on me to make ends meet for my family, but to also continue to do this. And that's not something I look forward to, but it's the reality I have to constantly be aware of. And when you hit that moment, you really have to believe in what you're doing, and that's what separates the people who are paid to do it from the people who like are locked in because they feel they cannot not do it.
And it's a faith walk, because while I was not paid for many years while I was lobbying, because our communities went to from local support groups to more internet-based groups, and I didn't have the time or the energy or skills to maintain that marketing aspect and do the work. So I just let the marketing part go away. But God supplied our needs, and that's the part that I really want to emphasize going through this. And we're kind of calling you to be a homeschool lobbyist. So, I mean, I'm sure there are other causes that are equally as important, but if that's what God's called you to do, He's going to supply your needs in a way that you can't even imagine. And one day we'll do a whole podcast on how he got Jason here. So that's a huge story.
Yeah, it's quite a wild ride.
I look forward to hearing that one.
So you had other questions, or Angelica, did you have any questions?
Yeah, did you want to go ahead? I don't want to hog all the time.
Oh, it's okay. All right. This shows you how homeschooled I am. I have my phone propped up by my computer. I'm using a pillow as my stand. So
you're good.
Yeah. So my question, I've heard so much about you, Miss Brenda. So I know we were just talking about Saturday, how you were close with my grandparents when it came to lobbying for homeschooling. But I've never really had to, sit down and have a conversation with you. So my first question was, what really inspired you to do this? I mean, it's a lot of work, and I'm sure it was stressful at times, but I mean, what really was the reason why you decided to lobby for us on behalf of us for homeschooling?
Good question.
Well, I've always been sort of an out of the box person, and we were teaching our children at home, and they were learning so quickly that we could, you know, do school and read classics on trips. And we were going with my husband. He was an attorney working for the Department of Transportation, and so they were condemning property in other parts of the state. So we'd go wherever he was going, and we'd go to the museums, and we'd do all the things that would help educate our kids, space museums and stuff. And when it came time for my daughter to go into school, I did kind of a tour of the schools, and I came home devastated because I wanted sort of a unique situation for her, like your mom, Nick. I wanted to be around the kids. So I met with the assistant principal after I had gone to the 4 pods to see the kindergarten classes. And I said, I want to volunteer in the school. I don't have to be in my child's classroom, but she's not comfortable in new situations, and I'd like her to know I'm nearby so she's more comfortable. And the lady said, absolutely not. This was the assistant principal. You will drop her off the first day of school, and she will adjust. And I thought, if I could have choked that lady, I thought, these kids, I mean,
I don't blame you.
I think that was the statement that is like, I am not putting my kid in this. They are not going to be uniform and be somebody that breaks their system. So I went home. I told my husband, who was an attorney, I can't do this. I cannot do this.
Oh, Lord.
So he began to look into the laws, and I'm a fighter. I'm not a crier. Somebody says something like that to me, it's like, I'll fix
That's good. That's good. We need more. We need more.
So that's what fired me off. And then after he died, we had lobbied to the point the law was passed in 85. He died in 91.
Oh.
And here I was left with, what have we done to our kids? Because there was no avenue for them to go forward. The public schools thought we were insane, and they were not about to take our kids back unless they started at the 9th grade. And again, you know, I said, there's got to be a better way, and I will find it. And so I thought, how can we prove that our kids are learning and competent the same as public school kids? So the only thing I thought of was dual enrollment. Let us get to the college level. Let's show them that our kids can do the work. And I knew zero about lobbying by myself. I had always been a support for my husband. And so basically it was just every one of those roadblocks that we hit. My son couldn't play sports. He really wanted to. And so I had to take on the FHSAA, which at that point was untouchable. And
wow.
They wish they had been more cooperative back then, because the legislature has devastated that organization. But, you know, we told them, you don't want to get put into statute. Well, they were so arrogant that they ended up getting the governor to veto the first bill that was passed.
Wow.
And
horrible.
The governor he thought it didn't have to be a law, and he wanted to negotiate, and he was friends with the commissioner of the FHSAA. And when he sent somebody to negotiate, and they sat back and they said, there's no way we're going to negotiate with homeschoolers. I hadn't said anything during the whole meeting. It was about a 3-hour meeting, but I invited people up who had experience. And I looked at the governor's legislative director and I said, I told you we needed a law. And they got on board with us. And so the second year it was passed. But each one of those roadblocks along the way were things that I encountered that my children were not able to participate in. And many of them, they didn't. It took me 3 years to get dual enrollment, but I'm the queen of Z. So we didn't find a way through ABC. We found a way to get them into dual enrollment.
Yeah.
And
That's amazing.
It's those
Yes.
schools and stuff that are making these negative connotations around homeschooling. Obviously, you're going to see someone and think they're not social if they're not allowed to participate in social events. It's just
Right.
unfair. It's
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
there's a lot that comes into it, and now FHSAA is far more friendly to homeschoolers, like far more friendly to homeschoolers. And we struggle to get the superintendents and the districts on board. And so that's kind of where the emphasis has shifted. And that is why the recent bill, Senate Bill 248 with Senator Simon came about, is because they were initially looking at it and going, oh, yeah, they can play, but they have to
but not
pick
at our school.
yeah, they have to pick a school on the list. Oh, by the way,
Oh
we've
my
removed
goodness.
them all from the list. Yeah. And it's like, wait, hang on a second, So we spelled that out kind of in black and white during this
Jason
session.
did a great podcast about 4 podcasts ago, or maybe a little bit
83,
longer,
episode
laying
83.
out the law and how the law says that homeschoolers and extracurricular activities should be open to homeschoolers. But then you get down into the weeds and you have to lobby there. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what we were doing. And we hit another roadblock.
Mhm.
So, then we set out to fix that one. So,
Yeah,
So
because it can be difficult when they're having to look at the Constitution and 4 other statutes to come to a clean understanding. It's like, okay, well, let's just put something that's very on its face, clean, and make it spell it out clearly here beneath that. And that it takes constant tweaking and stuff like that. That's why it's not lobbying. Going back to your first question, Nick, it's really about having a heart and a mission, like a purpose and a passion, because all of the different things that are going to come at you and change the game or shift and go, oh, well, consider this or consider that, it's not so much that they all threaten, but they'll all change your perspective on something somehow, or they'll change the way that the game has to be played, or the need becomes apparent that, oh, this is why this has been happening. Oh, okay, let's go patch that. And that another way in which I think it's like video games, like the new patch that closes off the old way of playing. So anywho,
But
great question, Angelica. Great question for
Right. Yeah.
that's interesting because it was actually leads into another question if we still have time.
Oh, we
you
do.
think
We do.
we'll-
Yeah, go.
Okay.
Mhm.
Speaking of roadblocks you previously ran into while trying to do these various things and how they consistently change. In the next 5 to 10 years, do you see any specific roadblocks that you can think of off the top of your head appearing for homeschooling specifically?
I'm assuming that's directed at me because Brenda's
Yes.
retiring.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
okay.
Right.
I'm going to pitch it to Brenda first, though, because she often has foresight and vision. And so I'll let you take first stab at it if you want, Brenda.
I don't foresee a roadblock. I see the potential of more regulation coming down on the scholarship programs if the administration changes. Right now, I started off lobbying, it was all Democrats, House, Senate majority with a governor that was a Democrat. What are you grinning about? So now
Angelica's
they
reaction.
don't even say, right? But that's if we maintain the Republican majority,
Yes.
they're going to support choice in education. We may go back to some fights, but if we got it in statute, we'll probably win them. So I see that as being a potential, and we're going to have to continue to fight so that those parents who choose to take scholarship money from the state are not regulated out of their freedom of choice. That's one of the big areas I see. But on the other front, there's some proactive stuff that we really need to work on. I say we because I'm not going away. I'm just not going to walk the Capitol and keep up with every committee thing for the next 6 months. Jason will clue me in if we need to do something, and I'll help. But there's a huge area that the governor wants more career and technical education in Florida, and that's where the money's going to be going forward. We're already trying to build a part of our website that will help students who, and one of the kids who went through the graduation said he was going into the workforce.
Mm-hmm.
I love that because manufacturing is one of the areas that's good money.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're looking at is not your traditional plumber, electrician, air conditioner thing that we all know about, but these are unique jobs that kids don't know about. So we're in the process of trying to build a resource. We're not going to teach it. We're just going to help kids find those careers. But the laws are anti-career and technical education. So I don't think the people in leadership understand that, because the only option outside of the public school route, which would be career and technical at the state colleges, which they force them to do, kicking and screaming, but they're doing a pretty good job of it now. But those are more traditional things, and some of them, because of the way it takes bureaucracy so long to get things passed, are even outdated.
Yep.
So I'll give you an example, like IT stuff. When you look at the gold seal list that are offered at the state colleges, one of our board members has an IT training company. And in order to be able to offer the courses in Florida, she had to go through the laws that require her to become a college or university. Well, she's not offering English and math and all the core gen courses that you have to take. She's just a training program, but there's no mechanism in law that would allow her to offer those courses.
Yep.
And she looked at the list at the state college. She said Microsoft outdated that 2 years ago. Microsoft has eliminated this. So by the time the system can get courses that are current to kids, it's really a waste of money for them to go to school.
It's problematic, yeah, because there was a bill even during this session to update the Florida curriculum to call the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, but a lot of the curriculum's already been printed and they won't be reprinted again for like 4 years. So that actually won't take place if you're in 9th grade. That actually won't take place until you're in college. So they're talking about and deciding upon it now, but the way the system has a bunch of moving parts and a flow to it. And so even if you impact some of the things now, you don't see the effect till later. And so what Brenda's talking about is absolutely right. There's a delay, and being able to offer students who are graduating a path to be successful in life for what's happening now and the world as it is now is so important to getting you guys on your own feet, doing your own thing. But the very nature of the public education system is that it's, what do you always say, Brenda? The wheels of government are oiled in epoxy?
With epoxy.
With epoxy? Yeah. And they're just hard set. Yeah.
You have to go through all these different committees and get everything approved. And by the time, sometimes it takes 2 or 3 years. Everything's outdated by then. So I have an idea about how we should set this up, but I said if I had 2 more years to lobby, I would definitely dive in and do this, because it's a passion. I want kids to have the most opportunities to be what they want to be, and not have government stop them. And that's where it is right now.
Brenda's announcing her next expansion. Look at that. She's retiring from one and she's becoming another lobbyist. I'll answer, if you'd state your question again, I'd like to answer it in a different perspective.
So in the next 5 to 10 years, or however long, you've continuously faced roadblocks and they've constantly changed. Do you foresee any roadblocks happening? And if so, what would those be?
Yes. So I want to say that the the more complex a system is, the harder it is to get anything done in it. So there's a natural gravitation towards simplifying that system, right? Even Einstein said something like any idiot can make something more complex and difficult. It takes brilliance to make something more simple. And so in that effort and in that endeavor, some of the threats to home education are going to come from efficiency and expediency. Attempts to make this, say, the scholarship as an example. Like, oh, wouldn't it be easier if we had a pre-approved list of curriculum for parents to choose from on the Department of Education's website? Then that would completely simplify the process, and parents wouldn't have to wait so long for reimbursements because we would already know what they can choose from, and they already know. And I'm like, that's a great idea to not do. Absolutely not do, because that completely removes parents' choice and flexibility and options. And that is not something we'll ever be on board for. And very specifically, I'm already working behind the scenes to input some language that's not in statute, that will be in statute, that will help circumvent that. And so it's being able to look ahead and see things like that, that like, oh, future expansions of the law might look like this. Let's get in front of that. I think efficiency and expediency will be the biggest banner that the regulations would come under, and they'll make it sound good. Like, oh, this is a great reason for that. We really should, but it's so much more difficult. It's like, okay, cool. Let it be difficult. Freedom is difficult. It really is. And people with their freedom make dumb choices, and that's the beauty of freedom. We all get to see who we really are. Like you look at the public school graduation as you described it compared to the homeschool one. You've got one color, and then you've got all the different colors. It's like, that's the beauty of freedom. You get all the difficulty of who's going to wear what, and will it clash with this person, who's sitting next to who. It's like, yep, all of that, and we're free to do it. Thank you. So that's one, efficiency and expediency. I think the other threat that's on the horizon for home education is the rapid expansion of school choice options. Because the scholarship money has come in, it has blown up it has put a lot of focus on homeschooling that wasn't there before, because the money brings the spotlight with it. And as such, it's brought a lot of people who want the money. So they're like, oh, I have this idea. We could offer this class and that class, and we'll do little mini schools and pop-up schools and this and that and the other. And they all call it homeschooling, and they all call it the same thing. And it's all one big mesh pot, like the United States of school. Every state gets ratified. Every option's available. But the problem is, and we kind of saw this at the graduation, homeschoolers have a culture. Like, there is a cultural spirit historically that belongs to the legacy of home education. And I think that one of the cultural dangers is that we're in threat of expanding so rapidly that the historical homeschool legacy is going to be a smaller percentage of the overall school choice people who homeschool, because it is a great option. And that's not me pitching it. That's me observing a fact that it's a great option. And a lot of people are wising up to that, but they're not the same people as the traditional homeschoolers who have been the ones to make it the great option that it is. So with the rapid expansion, we stand to be tempted to lose our identity. And that's something that on a community level, and on not a policy or a state level, but on a community level, we're up against. We do face that. And I think
it's more that it's not the community that's going to suffer. It's going to be the people that are coming in that you mentioned because they want the money.
Yep.
They will allow the government to put more regulation on because they want the money.
Yeah.
So if you don't have somebody fighting for the freedoms, then you're going to end up getting more regulation. And as they're regulated, they're going to say, well, these homeschoolers don't have those regulations. And then we're fighting a group that has no idea what they're doing to the choice that they've made.
And a lot of people coming from, let's say, a public school mindset might look at a scholarship program and go, wow, kayaks? You need kayaks for education? What in the world is that? But you ask any traditional homeschooler, and they'll go, "Oh, I could give you 10 reasons off the top of my head why that's so much better than a textbook." Like, I could do endless videos this year on that alone as to all the many ways that that's way better than sitting and learning from a textbook. And those two worlds are going to clash from the introduction of the scholarship. And so, from not necessarily a policy standpoint, but from a cultural standpoint, I think homeschoolers are at an identity crisis roads, and I think that we need to be active in building community, places to have conversations and spaces. This is one of the reasons why I'm launching the Discord server for HEF, because it invites people into a place and it says, hey, we've been here a while. Now that you're coming to join our option, join us, join the community, come in alongside of you. Let us show you the benefits of kayaks. Let us show you the benefits of a school day in your pajamas. Let's show you the freedoms that you have access to, and you'll wonder why everyone doesn't do this, and really truly embracing those people to come in and teaching them how to hold their ground and push back whenever some regulation does come in. You go, you know what? We can do it without the money. And if you want the regulation, that's fine. Keep operating your business over there, but we're not going to pick you anymore. Because we want the freedoms, we don't want the money, right? And that we have to keep that in the forefront of our minds. And I think that comes along with the third thing that I think is the issue, which is the weeds are the weeds. The priorities have to stay what we're focused on. And the priority is parents' rights. It is really truly that the children are ours to guide and to mold and to spend time with and to bond with. Because later in life, when the proverbial stuff hits the fan and they're looking for answers, we're probably the ones they're going to turn to. We're going to be the safest place. I know for a fact that when I left and came down to college, I didn't have that to go back to. My mom left Alabama, went to Minnesota. I had a rough pass with my dad. There was no coming back. There was like Cortez burned the boats. And it was one of those things where you just succeed or you don't. And luckily, I don't. I made it just far enough to be okay. And now I am where I am, but it's one of those things where parents in life are that cornerstone of society. Strong families are truly the cornerstone of society. And that's really the goal. That truly ultimately is the goal. That the children do not belong to the state. They don't belong to the government. There's nobody else's job to raise them. Even when you look at the history of mankind, or womankind, mankind, humanity, when you look at the history of humanity, we are living such a small section of that. Like, to us, it seems big, like hundreds of years. Like, we're in like 400 years now of the North American experiment and 250 years of the United States experiment, and 100 of those years, right, where we have this like massive public education push. It's a very, very small part of human history, but we take for granted that this is the way that it is. The public education system by default is the way, and these are the experts, and listen to them. And I think that we've got to realize that, when the stuff hits the fan or the rubber meets the road, so to speak, their children are ours. They're our responsibility. The problems that they make for themselves and it's my fault. Like, as a parent, I got to be honest with you. When I look at my kids and they make goofy mistakes, I think that's my fault. Not I should have stopped them, but I could teach them. And if I look at that and I go, it's my fault that they did that, then I go, it's also my responsibility to help them learn from this mistake they've made. And so that becomes teachable moments. That never stops. I know you have to go.
I have to go, but
I know.
These two have been great.
Yes.
I think we should invite them back.
Yeah, okay.
If they're willing, and let's finish his questions, because we didn't get very far on your list of questions.
Yeah.
It's no worries, though.
Yeah, I'd
We
love to
like
do that.
having you, and hopefully we can continue this discussion.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So
I know you have to go. I'll wrap up,
Right.
but thank
Right.
you, Brenda.
Thank you.
Thank
It
you.
was nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
But yeah, I think that ultimately, I think that's one of the key issues that always looms is our society. We love convenience. Like we have our groceries shipped to our door, right? Like that's where we are now.
Yep.
And so that any level of discomfort is painful in a lot of ways, and we like to avoid pain where we can. But to quote another Princess Bride, life is pain, Highness. And anyone who says otherwise is selling something. Like it's just true. And we shouldn't abdicate our rights as parents just because they're not convenient. Raising a kid's inconvenient, but it's the most important thing we can do. And until we get to a place in society where we're truly honoring mothers and honoring fathers, like why do we do birthdays the way that we do? Right? Why do we celebrate a child's birthday? The child didn't do anything. The mother is the one whose body was laid on the line and sacrificed, and she'll never be the same. Never. And so if a woman has 7 children and she has seven months out of the year as a celebration of the mom and what she does, I think we would have a lot more women wanting to be mothers and seeing the beauty and the value that brings to a family, to a society. It's a very important thing and a very important role. And I think that from a policy standpoint, when we're lobbying, we have to look at things like that and make sure that we're not just trying to get through the moment with something that's convenient and expedient, and lose something deep and like our rights as parents. So those are my 3 things that I would say answer that question.
I think that was phenomenal. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much.
And thank you guys. I'm glad to have y'all on. So I would like to extend the invitation to you guys to do this again.
All right.
I don't know if next week works for you. We do the podcast every Monday at noon.
Okay.
We're going to the FPEA convention. So next Monday we'll be kind of like just getting back from that, but we don't cancel the podcast, right? We'll do it. It's just
the show goes on.
It's just a matter of being consistent and communicating with our community. And if you guys want to do next week, we could do it again. You don't have to answer here. You don't have to commit. We'll talk about that later.
You're good.
We'll discuss things and figure it out.
It could even be like a little mini series. I love that Brenda was here and she has seen the last 40 years of her work, and looking at you guys, class of 2025, and a public school student and a homeschool student coming together. Like, it's just such a unique and wild panel. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful for you, Nick. If you hadn't spoken up and said, "Hey, could we chat?" My brain just goes off and is like, "Hey, we can chat, but like, why don't we do this?" And your willingness and your initiative that you took, it's rewarded. Angelica, thank you for also being with us and chatting
you're very
with us.
welcome.
It's really
Especially
really
so
cool.
last second. Thank you so much. I call her up. I'm like, I have a huge favor to ask. She just woke up.
Literally, like my voice is so croaky, and I'm like, "What do you want?"
I can't tell. You sound great, and I'm glad you're here to be with us. So, yeah, thank you both. Thank you
for having us.
Yeah. Well, let me wrap things up as we normally do. So I'll take us back to the screen of our top sponsors. We'll want to say thank you to Arete, FPEA, Fisher Precious Metals, and TBHC Group. You guys are awesome. FPEA, we look forward to seeing you guys later on this week. We'll be doing another commencement. It's not a commencement ceremony. It's like a retirement ceremony to celebrate Brenda Dickinson and her work, and we really look forward to that. We do have some special shirts that we made for that event. Yeah, they're going to be fun. Brenda doesn't know what they are yet, so
even better.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
with her face on it or something.
Yeah,
like masks. Yeah.
It's going to be great. So thank you guys again for being with us, and thank you all for watching. Share it with your friends if you know somebody who's interested or would benefit from hearing some of this. And I look forward to continuing this wonderful discussion as we move forward. And until next time, I'm going to give you guys your Monday back. And be well.